hello. Thank you very much for hosting us. And I am very pleasured to be here. My name is Andreja Kutnar, and I am a professor at the University of Primorska and director of a research institute, InnoRenew, both located in Slovenia. Together with my colleague, we will guide you through the morning session. And please, Uwe.
Yes, good morning. Welcome to everybody here in Brussels. It's great that so many people have made the move to our event. We are very delighted that we can start this conference, Europe's wood sector as a driver for the green and digital transition of the built environment. And we also want first to introduce briefly who actually are the organizers behind it.
So the organizing organizations behind our Wood4Bauhaus Alliance, then it's woodPoP that was already also mentioned before, Bioregions that are connecting different aspects from forestry all the way to the bio industry, as well as Holzcluster from Steiermark. And if I continue with who all is behind the Wood4Bauhaus, would like to emphasize that it was created when the new European Bauhaus was getting its importance. And there were several of us that we said, well, we need to join and we need to market ourselves together as the ones that can contribute to the values, working principles of new European Bauhaus. InnovaWood was the one that somehow was bringing us together with the European Panel Federation, together with SBL, with the Sawmill Association, European Federation of Buildings and Woodworking Workers, as well as Research Institute InnoRenew. And the two of us will try to now guide us, and Uwe will give us a bit of entry to the discussion of the day.
Thank you. So we are addressing wood, which is a material, but it has a whole lot of implications to the way we live, the way we will work, the way we work with buildings, the way we can actually address also climate change. And this is the overarching topic of this conference. So I will just give a brief, let's say, overview of the whole sector and also address this issue, what can actually forestry and wood contribute to the climate debate. Forests are a huge terrestrial ecosystem in Europe and cover roughly 40% of the land. And you have to understand forests are very diverse. For foresters this is very clear, but for the general public you have to understand very different climate conditions, very different situations. So overall there are some 78 forest types with more than 100 tree species. And the largest number actually are hardwoods and broadleaf trees, whereas the, let's say, most productive and most used species in the wood industries are coniferous species. The forest as an ecosystem, they are really important for the ecology, for natural cycles, but as the main producer of the material, the raw material wood, they are the backbone also of the forest-based sector. And what is the forest-based sector really? It's actually a whole supply chain network of different industries who use the material and convert it into many different products. So we start from forestry, and then there is like the wood industry in the narrow sense, sawmilling, paper production. Then in the second step, the second transformation, so to say, we have the wood industry in the, let's say, really the core sense, where we produce products like furniture, paper products, all sorts of wooden products, and as well buildings. And then if you make even a larger circle around it, in the broader sense, we also include all sorts of further values and let's say, additions to the sector. Now, this has been analyzed in a study and gives us very interesting figures. The gross value added of this sector is 527 billion from direct, let's say, contributions. But if you count also the indirect, let's say, effects on the economy, it almost doubles. We are at 1 trillion euros gross value added. Looking at the share of economic output, this means in a direct sense, if you can count it directly, it's more than 3%. But if you also consider the indirect impacts, we are at 7% of the economy. So this is to say the wood-based sector is a very strong part of the economy. It's quite, very different products and industries involved, but as a whole, all this sector depends on forests and on wood. And have a look at the jobs. Yeah, these are also serious figures. 7 million are directly employed in the, let's say, wood industry in the narrow sense. But if you count all the indirect effects on the economy, it's 17.5 million people working in this whole European wood-based sector. So this is just to underline that we should have a stronger voice in Brussels, we should have a stronger voice in national policy making, and that is where we want to go with this event. Now looking at one specific part of the sector, the newly emerging, I would say, building with wood or wood construction sector, that is something that is really driving also the interest now in these products. And here we have to say the wood construction industries are leaders globally on the technology side, on the innovation side. There is constantly new, pushing the limits of what we can do with the material, and all of these offer really very valuable solutions for affordable housing, for building in a sustainable manner, and even for renovation of the building stock. So because we know the housing crisis is a very eminent problem all over Europe, and we think with the wood sector we can play an important part in there. Just also one note, this is an overview where actually the main producers of engineered wood products are located. These are the capacities. It's mainly the German-speaking countries, Austria, German and Switzerland, but as well Sweden and Finland, so the Nordic countries are, let's say, important producers already. But this also means that we can really share knowledge in Europe and actually support other countries who are also, let's say, important forest countries, but who are not yet as developed on this engineering with wood side. Okay, and now let's say a bit of a harsh skip, but that's the real reality we are facing. We can talk about our sector as a nice industry, we can talk about how great we are with the technology, but the real challenge that, the world is facing, we as a human species, is climate change. And the information that gets out every year, every month, with every new catastrophe that we see on the news, we realize that we are really entering now the +2 degrees Celsius world. And this is an issue that the whole society has to address, but also we as a wood sector have to be taking it very seriously. So I have a second slide on that. How actually should we consider and think about this? Everybody knows this stripes graphic, realizing sort of the temperature increase in a very visual, very easy communicative way. But here I found a nice representation for the wood sector. Actually, that is how also the trees and the forest is reacting to it. Yeah, and trees have a very long lifespan. This tree is a 142 years old oak tree, and it has already experienced the whole climate change since 1800s. Now the science is saying two things. There's also forests will be impacted in a strong way. There are more disturbances, there are pests, you name it. But of course it also increases productivity. More temperature, more CO2 means actually the forest is growing better. So the impacts are not, just positive or negative. But just to say that climate change is a main factor for our sector in the long run, because we depend on the material wood and we depend on forests. Now, in this climate crisis, the main issue is that humankind is producing stuff and is polluting the atmosphere with too much emissions. And now the real, let's say, interesting part of wood products or bio-based materials in a larger sense is that they actually can embody carbon and that they can store carbon for a long time. And this is why when you are looking at it from an LCA perspective, our products, which you see at the bottom, can even be considered climate positive. They can have this impact if the right setting around it means that the supply chain are effective and well managed, that the materials can in the long run have a climate positive impact. So meaning they are not contributing more emissions than in the balance actually they account for. And this message has already been noted on the national scale, and we will show many examples of that in the sessions. But also just again to highlight that the European Bauhaus, when it started in 2021, when the President of the Commission started to talk about wood, and everybody got very surprised, what is this about? This is basically the main story behind it, that bio-based materials and nature-based solutions can become a contribution to the climate topic. And I also want to cite again Professor John Schellenhuber. He was also part of our first conference in 2022, and he branded this term, we need to reforest the planet and we need to retimber the cities. And this will help us in the fight for climate change, because timber construction is a true silver bullet for climate change. So to put this in one graphic, we need to connect the forests with long-life wood products, and we need to prolong the lifetime of wood products. And these can then be stored for a long time in the built environment. And we should also enhance the circular economy part, so reusing, reclaiming the timber and making products out of it again. And to put it maybe in a bit more visual way also as a formula, can this maybe be a formula for the timber revolution? It depends on us, I think. Will it be an evolution or will it be a revolution? We have to, I think, educate, we have to push for it to make this understandable. So forests have to be managed in a sustainable manner. They have to be made more resilient to the climate changes. We have to also protect biodiversity and the ecology in it, but we have to manage them in a way, in a climate-smart, adapted way. And the forest science is really working on that, and forests are being, adapted to climate change efficiently already. On the wood industry side, we have to consider that timber engineering is a really established technology already. It's there to be used and to be mainstreamed also in other sectors, in the construction sector. It can be upscaled if we really support the sector in the right way. And we can invest in more innovation to make the products even more resource efficient and more circular. And this then will help us to get the building sector on top also of this story. There are a lot of issues also, let's say, barriers against building with bio-based materials in the right way, so we need more harmonization. The sector might need more incentivized to stimulate building with wood, and all these solutions that we have already demonstrated in various cases, and again, we will have many examples today. We can be more versatile and we can create very healthy and very inclusive environments. And all of this will be facilitated through, let's say, more horizontal and transversal activities. Digitalization is the main driver already in our sector. We need more research, we need to support the skills and the education ecosystem around it, and even engage with all the other related sectors to co-create the solutions for the timber revolution. So this is on one slide how I capture it, but Andrea will also give us a final quote on that, what is really to keep in mind.
Yeah, so we were discussing how we can be also saying in one sentence why it's so important that we are here gathered today. And US architect Frank Lloyd Wright said, we create our buildings and then they create us. I believe it's our responsibility that we are contributing to the future of our society, and we should have this in mind today and after, when we go home and we try to implement and be even stronger supporters of the new built environment that timber can create.
Thank you very much.